Do you want to be a walker or a talker? For me, it's clear. I'm both. And also a treasure hunter back in time. We all know that the only thing that does not come back in time is time. Although sometimes we wish for a time machine. But what if I tell you that after these 15 minutes together, you might get your time back, many times multiplied. And it's treasure. Yet, this is threatened by the shadow of misdiagnosis, especially in heart diseases in women, a relatively unknown topic in the healthcare. And today, I'll share with you a map for reading those early signs and arm you with the awareness and some useful knowledge that could potentially prevent unnecessary loss of life and its treasure. But first, let's go back in time. It was the 10th of February, 6 years ago. I was in San Francisco for work and was on the phone with my Italian mom, talking about some of my projects, exciting Silicon Valley stuff, and the American cuisine. Food was a big part of our talks. Then she told me that she wasn't feeling so well. For a few days, she had this kind of a indigestion and nausea. Most probably she ate something funny. But it shouldn't be so bad. The medical experts said that it could be indigestion, and by taking those recommended anti-nausea medication, it will go away soon. She told me, "No worries, Pupa. With a little bit of humor and philosophy, tomorrow is always a better day." That was our last call. And not tomorrow. The sad irony, on that special February day, when people celebrate love, I mourn the last farewell of my dearest one who's given me my today's life. It was sudden, with no goodbye, without so visible signs to worry about, but the illness signs were there on that map, just nobody could read them. Not herself, not the family, not the medical experts, and worst of all, not me. Later, I found out that this unnecessary loss could have been avoided, 80% preventable. Had I known back then what I know today, probably should be here with us, maybe in this audience, for a different TED Talk. That shock put me in movement. Not knowing where to go and what to look for, I started an audacious walk and ventured into the unknown world of healthcare. I just wanted to find some answers to this question. How is it possible that a relatively healthy person could disappear just like that, from 1 hour to the other? To find out, and brace yourselves, that the #1 killer of women, more than all cancers combined, is heart disease. And 50% of the women, even following a heart attack, get misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed. To then discover that women are different from men. Surprise, surprise. Sadly, women get cervical cancer and men get prostate cancer. It's obvious why. But what if their common parts, like hearts and brains, are different too? Let me show you something about a man's and a woman's heart. And please accept my apologies in advance for simplifying this. As you know from every first aid course, you generally learn that a heart attack is something like this. Nino, 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 sir, you're having a heart attack. Here's a stent. Oh, I feel much better. Thank you, doctor. See you next week on the golf course. This is known as a typical heart attack, and usually men experience this kind of squeezing chest pain radiating to the left arm. We also see it in the Hollywood films. Now, let me show you a non-typical type of female heart attack. Honey, I don't know, I'm feeling not so well these days. And I have this kind of nausea and indigestion, and this kind of anxiety, and the palpitations, you know, that kind of a heartbeat that you get when you do a TED Talk. Darling, we had a really rich dinner last night. Probably it's from that steak. Or maybe it's that time of the month, you know, female business. Oh, by the way, have you downloaded that cool meditation app? I'm pretty sure with a little bit of rest and meditation, and you'll feel much better. End of the story. Women may experience atypical or non-male specific symptoms. But here's the puzzle. Women are more than 51% of the world population. Is this atypical? And guess what? Psychological issues like anxiety may mask symptoms of a heart attack. Also, women have a different take when they should go and see a doctor. I mean, as women in the families, you've seen it, right? So women take care of the kids and the family and the dog and that work report. If they don't collapse on the kitchen's floor, they will not call the doctor. When actually, it could make the difference, a life difference. Yeah. Here's a snapshot of some of the key differences between a man's and a woman's heart attack. Although chest pain is a common indicator of a heart attack, it doesn't apply to all. Also, women may experience different types of symptoms that are less associated with a heart problem, such as shortness of breath, or back or jaw pain. Out of curiosity, who knew about these differences? Okay. Not so many. I expected the majority, but not. We still have some work to do. Yeah. You might wonder, why is that? Well, until recently, everything that we knew in the medical field that was beyond the baby-making business and common in a male and a female body, like hearts and brain's health and so on, was studied in a male body. That was the default in medicine. Also, until 20, 30 years ago, women were not even included in clinical trials for new drug discoveries. So women should be the same, sort of mini-man with boobs and tubes. Some people put it like that. Well, not exactly. And this is it's puzzling. But what's promising is that over the last few years, there's been increased research in the emerging field of gender medicine and new studies of women's heart health. Research after research and more research and more research and research and more research, good, but more research. And still, we do not know how to protect ourselves. I feel sometimes that the knowledge map is trapped somewhere in the research institutes or pioneering place and not reaching the normal conversations, right? The ones that we have in our families, at school, and the workplace, and especially with our family doctors. And who pays the price for this? Maybe sometimes with their lives. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage the best news of the century. Ta-da! 80% of heart disease and strokes are preventable if caught in time. 80%. 3 years ago, when I found out about this number, the magic number, right? And I might get a tattoo with it. I started CorDiFio Health in the memory. And we are a social impact organization to, with the mission to raise awareness, communicate, and educate to prevent heart diseases. We want to advance health equity that goes beyond reproduction or the so-called bikini medicine. We want to empower people with their health knowledge, with that kind of an individual cardiovascular risk factors, so they can have informed conversations with their doctors and find the problems early on, because prevention is key. Actually, prevention is life, is quality life. And I have a dream to share with you, that no more unnecessary losses of lives happen because of a limited knowledge of gender differences and awareness and their specific symptoms. Yeah? That's why last year I started another walk, one step at a time, for 800 kilometers, Santiago de Compostela walk, to raise awareness on heart diseases and the differences in women, and also to come to grips with my pain and loss. It was quite of an intense journey where I found out that many people, have their own stories and baggages, and they try to make sense of it. And these wonderful people, they also lost loved ones to cancers or accidents, and some to misdiagnoses, like Sonia here. Sonia is a mother, and she listened to her heart. When she was 38 years old, She had this only specific symptom, a terrible stomach pain. And she went to the emergency room, where she was told that she had a female business problem and better go home and see the gynecologist. But she persisted. After 8 hours waiting in the hospital, she collapsed with a massive heart attack. Only then, those doctors believed her. What happened next? Long story short, 2 months in coma and 6 years paralyzed. Today, she's alive, not because of a miracle, but because she listened to her heart and those specific signs. I know, it's quite intense, but on the Camino, I also had light encounters, like with this little squirrel. That was my first time when I touched a squirrel. And because at the end of the day, beauty, nature, and joy is good for us. But still, today, I still find myself wishing for that kind of a time machine to go back in time, not for grand adventures or something, but to that 10th of February where I could have that kind of a simple conversation and might have saved her. That's why women need to be a little bit more proactive and listen to their hearts and those special symptoms. And men too, because you could save the lives of your loved ones. So please, know these kind of signs, right? Jaw, shoulder, back pain, dizziness, vomiting, indigestion, being tired for no reason. Knowledge is power, or better, knowledge is life. So, what can we do now? For sure, it will take time for medicine to catch up and close the gender health gap. But in the meantime, we cannot waste time and lose our loved ones just like that, unnecessarily, when we can do something about it today. And here are 3 things that you can do. 1, be aware that this can happen and know the early signs. 2, have those kind of informed conversations with their doctors and ask them about your cholesterol levels, how you're doing with the blood pressure, the family history, these things run in the family. Ask the doctors to support you with that kind of an educational tool. And lastly, spread the awareness and educate yourselves within your communities and the families, in the workplace, because you have the power, and this is within reach. So you will never find yourself wishing for a time machine like I do. And together, let's make hearts a bit longer. 1 heart at a time.